So you want to convert your garage, but you don't want it to look like an afterthought and look shoddy. I'll tell you how today on Smith House. Howdy y'all, it's Jordan Smith. So this is actually a converted garage behind me, but we did a few things to make sure that it doesn't look like there used to be a garage there. One of my pet peeves is when you're driving down the road and you see a house that clearly had a garage on the front of it, and now they've converted it just by, say it's a brick house, and they just throw siding up and the driveway still slams right into the house, and you can clearly tell there was a garage there, they threw up some siding, and now there's living quarters back there. It just doesn't go with the aesthetic of the house. It looks, in my opinion, it looks pretty cheap. So there's ways that you can convert a garage and still keep the aesthetics of the house looking nice. I'm going to give you 3 quick tips on how to convert a garage without it looking dumb. Tip number 1, don't get rid of the door if you don't have to. There's ways of converting a garage to where you can leave that garage door on there. The things that you got to look at is insulation. You both have to think about insulating that garage door because that thin metal will let in a lot of cold or let out a lot of cold depending on which way you want it done. If you're in the north or if you're in the south, you got to think about insulating that. But there's insulated garage doors that look really nice. They're not going to give you as much R value as a wall will, but they will definitely help over just a standard thin garage door. You also have to think about the walls, the insulation in the walls, especially on these newer, cheaply built houses. They don't insulate where they don't have to insulate, and so the garages, there's no insulation in those walls usually. So you got to think about how you're going to insulate in those walls. But once you get the insulation figured out, and as long as your door seals well, I've seen very good converted spaces where they leave the garage. And the reason I like that is the garage door from the outside still looks like a functioning garage door because it is, and from the inside you get all the benefits of a converted living space, and you have the ability to pull the garage door up and have indoor outdoor living space as well. One thing that I didn't mention is you'll also want to think about adding HVAC to that, because your home's HVAC was never designed to cool or heat the living space, the original living space, and the garage as well. So you're going to have to do something out there. I really like the mini split systems. For a few $1,000s you can heat and cool a small space like that, and you're not going to overly tax your HVAC from the rest of your house. Tip number 2, if you're dead set on taking the garage door out, you never want to use that as an indoor-outdoor living space and don't want that garage door, then make sure you do it right. On this converted garage behind me, when we pulled that door out, we pulled the brick away from the opening. We went to the back of the house where we're doing an addition. We pulled off some of the original brick, brought it around to the front of the house, and weaved it back in to where it looks like this window was original. You can't tell that there's any difference in brick sizing, and you can't see the seams around where the door originally was. Now that gets tricky, especially with brick, because it's hard to find brick the exact color, the exact size, and the exact texture year after year after year. This house was built in 1970. It's got a really weird format, 2.5 by 9 inch brick. We could find brick that was close to the format but didn't match the color, and we could find brick that matched the color but didn't match the format. So we chose to go with matching the format, and then when we did our addition we painted the whole thing, and that way the color was no longer an issue. But because the format wasn't exact, it wasn't exactly the same size, we couldn't put the new brick on the front because you would see it. You would see, oh, there's a transition between the old and the new. So we took the old, brought it up here to the front, and only used the new on the back where it's less noticeable. So think through all of the details. That goes for everything in design. Details matter. It's the little details, doing all the little details right, that makes the whole project look great. So once you've made the garage door disappear by integrating the siding well, you'll also want to think about that driveway. We were able to move the driveway from the original location away about 50 foot, and that makes, when you have a yard here, it makes it look like there was never a garage there at all. I mean, it completely disappears. You would never guess that that used to be a garage. However, for some of you, I know that that's not an option. You've got a small lot and the driveway has to come in somewhere, and it's going to come up against the house you know, somewhere, so you might as well have it where it used to be at the garage so you don't have all that expense of moving it somewhere else. If you're in that situation, you want to give yourself some separation between the driveway and the house. Score the driveway, break it up, and put a flower bed in between the house and the driveway, let's say. If you're going to be adding a carport, make sure the carport is well integrated into the house. Either a completely different design aesthetic like a timber frame and then bring some of those details in elsewhere to make them tie together, or if you're going to tie the roofs together on the carport, make sure that it looks like it was well thought out. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Comment below with any of your own garage conversion tips and tricks. Subscribe if we've earned it. Go follow us over on Instagram. Tag us in any of the projects that you're working on. We'd love to see what you're working on as well, and we'll see you next time on Smith House.